I didn't put on any foundation today. It's just my real face, so I may look at this video later and deeply regret it, but I'm hoping the pink will bring out the pink in my face. Not that there is any. Today, in honor of February and Valentine's Day month, the next 2 videos are going to be relationship related. Today, I'm going to talk about disaster date stories, or at least I'm going to tell one. I'm going to tell one disaster date because I have plenty to choose from. I've been on a lot of bad dates in my 20 years. Next week is going to be relationship advice. A bunch of you wrote in questions and there is still time, so if you watch this and have some questions and want some advice, comment down below. But let's get started with this disaster date. This happened over the summer. I was chilling up here at school taking some summer classes, and one day this guy in my class sits next to me, like second day of class, sits next to me, asks for my number. And I was kind of like, okay, and I gave it to him because I can never think of a reason to not give away my phone number. And I didn't want to be presumptuous. I was like, maybe it's like a class thing. It's smart to get someone's number from your class. Like, you want to be able to text them about homework. So anyway, I give him my number, kind of wait for that text, never get one. And he seemed nice enough, so it wasn't like I was like, ew, gross. But I was like, ugh, you know, hesitant, but I gave him my number. He never texted me all semester, or for like the duration of the summer class. So I was kind of like, oh, okay. And he never even sat next to me again. So I was like, okay, this is nothing. Like, this is no big deal. I was like, he just was asking for class-related things. Then I started hanging out with these girls who, like, we would kind of work on group projects together, and they both said that they had hung out with him and legitimately studied and legitimately did homework with him. So I was like, oh, cool, like, this guy just, like, cares about his studies, right? But then he kept coming to class and, like, not paying attention, and he, like, never was turning in any homework, and it was, like, a summer class. It was only a month, so it was kind of like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you, like, spending your summer this way when you definitely don't have to? But, you know, I was like, he's legitimately studying. Maybe he just, like, isn't good at doing homework and is doing really well on the test because he keeps studying with people, boys and girls. So, I don't know. So then, the last week of class, he starts, like, walking out with me and, like, making small talk for, like, this whole week, you know, and it was a class that was every single day. And it was stuff like, so, you know, where do you hail from? That's not how he talked. He talked kind of monotone. So it was like, hello, where do you hail from? And I was like, and I told him my hometown, which no one knows where it is, but he did, because apparently he's a door-to-door window salesman and was trying to sell some windows there, which is like, if you're knocking on houses, they probably already have windows. So I don't know entirely what his plan was. But then, you know, every day kind of goes like this, where he's like, just making small talk. So then I thought, okay, this is just what we do. We walk out of class and we small talk. So then one day when he asks me, hey, like, well, monotone, right? Hello, do you have any exciting plans for this weekend? I took that as small talk, and I was like, ugh, no, I never do anything. That was my first mistake. Then, his monotone gets a little bit, it shifts a little bit, and he's like, oh, really? Was that good? Still monotone, but a little more excited. Oh, really? Do you think maybe we could grab coffee this weekend? And then in my head, I add, would you like to grab coffee so that we can study our French together? And I was like, ah, well, sure. First mistake, saying that I never do anything. Second mistake, adding in the word study when he never said to study. Third mistake, agreeing to go on this, what I didn't realize was a date. So he gets a little bit excited. Like, I would say maybe his monotone disappeared altogether, and he was like, really? And then I was like, oh no. I just agreed to go on a date with this young man who was very nice, but I did not want to go on a date with this young man who never did his homework and never paid attention in class. I just didn't want to go. I don't hang out with slackers. I'm a slacker, so I can't surround myself with other slackers, you know? So, yeah, he was like, well, I already have your number. So I was like, yeah, I mean, you'll be able to get a hold of me. Isn't that lucky? And then, again, he never texts me. So then I was like, okay, maybe we're not gonna go out to study. But then Saturday morning, the day of our date, he texts me. He gives me an address. And I was like, this feels weird. I don't just want to show up at an address. That's how people die. So I like Google it and I'm like, I don't see a business at this place. So I was like, what's this place called? And he's like, I think it's called loooovvvveeee. So I Google loooovvvveeee and I Google this address and this place does not exist. And I'm like, oh my god, this guy is sending me to an address and he's going to kill me there. This is how this happens. So I text my mom and I'm like, just so you know, I agreed to go out with this guy and he just sent me an address and the name of a place that does not exist. Like, pray for me. And she was like, haha, have fun. Okay, bye. And I was like, Mom. And so I start talking to my roommates and I'm like, you guys, I don't want to go. And they're like, Katie, be nice. Like, you have to go. You've agreed to this. It's too late. You have to go. But I'm saying this like at 4 when I'm supposed to be there. Oh, and he finally texts me back and says, just kidding, it's called The Point. And I was like, The Point? That sounds nothing like loooovvvveeee. Where did you get loooovvvveeee? So that was interesting, but I Google The Point and it exists. And their slogan was something like, where relationships are made. So I was like, this guy is not messing around. He knows what's about to go down at this coffee shop. So I go down there, and by the time I get there, I feel really guilty that I'm so late. So I text him and I'm like, I'm so sorry that I'm here now. And I show up to this place and it's the smallest little place. Like, it's probably the size of my bedroom, right? And I walk in and he's not there. There's like a couple of girls there and none of those girls are this boy, okay? And so I order a coffee and I make small talk with the guy working behind the counter and I make small talk with some other people in the building and had a delightful time with these strangers. But then he walks in and like I said, it's a little square room, not even, it's a little room the size of my bedroom. And he walks in and is like, where could she be? It's one redhead and me. And I'm like, hey there buddy, like here I am, I'm over here. And so he walks up to me and is like, hello. And then I'm like, so, like, you want to sit outside? Where there was like tons of seating and it was summer and, you know, it was nice. And he's like, no, I'd like to sit inside. And I'm like, of course you want to sit in this little tiny room. And then, well, he picks out this table. It's probably as long as my bed, okay? It's like this really long table. And we sit on opposite sides of the table. So we're like having to like yell over the sound of like frothing milk across this table. And he's kind of sweaty, but he did dress up. He like wore a button-up shirt and some like khaki shorts. But we sit down, he's a little sweaty and not making great eye contact. And I'm like, okay, that's sweet. He's a little nervous. It's fine. It's hot outside. He probably walked. It's, you know, it's fine. So we start talking. He does not order a drink, okay? He doesn't order a drink. So we're talking, you know, he's interesting, but he starts like asking me questions he's already asked me. We're talking about like my student ministry, and then he kind of starts talking about his old roommate who was celibate, and I'm just like, what is happening right now? And then he kind of asks me my major again and what I want to do with that again, and I'm like, okay, he's already forgotten, that's interesting. But you know, it's fine. I'm answering again. I'm like, he's nervous. He then talks about his major, you know, he doesn't know what he wants to do with it, but he's very interesting. He's got goals, he's got passions. And then he's like, but since I'm not sure what I want to do with it, like, maybe I'll just join the family business. And I was like, oh, what's the family business? And he's like, well, you see, we moved out here because my dad got this great job with Weed Life magazine. Things are starting to come together. I'm like, alright, you're gonna join the family business writing for Weed Life magazine. I do not smoke weed, never have, and I don't ever plan to. So this wasn't a turn on for me. But I was like, you know, trying to be nice, trying to keep an open mind. Writing is cool. I like writing things. Maybe they write things about more than just weed. I don't know. Maybe they write about hemp necklaces or something. Hemp deodorant. I can keep, I go to CU. I can keep an open mind. So then there's like, you know, he's done talking about his future goals. And we're kind of sitting there in awkward silence and he goes, your eyes are kind of greenish. And I mean, that's not a compliment. He just kind of told me that I have eyes. So I just said, yes. And then, you know, he gets a little flustered that all I said was yes to the sentence, you have eyes. And he goes, oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm kind of drunk. And I'm like, what? Like, it's 4 in the afternoon. What do you mean you're drunk? He was like, well, you know, went up to the frat house after work this morning, and we've just been drinking out in the sun all day. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, you're gonna write for Weed Life magazine, and you show up in the middle of the afternoon for a date with a girl that you don't know, and you're intoxicated. This is a disaster. This is terrible. He is like, what are you doing tomorrow? Like, you want to go to a movie? And I was like, no, I have plans with my roommates. And I did. And then he's like, what are you doing tonight? You want to go to a movie? And I was like, no, I have plans with my roommates, which I had already told him previously, because he was like, what are you doing later today? And I was like, I'm doing stuff with my roommates. We're really excited. Anyway, so he completely had already forgotten about that. And then he's like, what are you doing after our final? You want to go to a movie? And I was like, no, I have plans with my roommates, which I did. We were going to Waterworld that day, which was very exciting. But I was like, bro, I don't want to go to a movie. You're drunk and kind of sweaty, and I don't want to go to a movie with you. But, you know, he's very interesting. I enjoyed talking to him enough, you know. So then he realizes that, no, in fact, I do not want to go to a movie after asking 3 times. So he's like, all right, well, I think I'll go back up to the frat house and drink a little more. And I was like, and he kind of acted like, you can come with me. And I was like, I have plans. I've already said this a couple of times. So we stand up and we kind of like walk out together. And I didn't want to be rude, so I kind of went for a hug. And apparently he had no intention of going for a hug. So it was the most uncomfortable hug I've ever had. Very stiff, very weird. We're like, oh, okay. And then we both walked our separate ways, and I kind of just drove home like this. I was 10 minutes late, and then he was another 10 minutes late. So he was 20 minutes late to our date. And then we were really only there for half an hour, if not less. So it was the quickest date of my life. And an absolute disaster. Time flies when you're drunk, I suppose. Except I wasn't drunk. Kinda wish I was, you know what I'm saying?